Thank you for joining me, Diana Master, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, vaccine and medicine shortage hits Namibia. Dungeon victims irked by vengeance claims, and Geingob's watch and cologne were stolen by a security official. You can follow all our programs on 102.com or DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 in Namibia. Don't go anywhere, midday news update coming right up. The Ministry of Mines and Energy has announced that petrol and diesel prices will remain unchanged in Namibia despite rising international oil prices and currency depreciation against the American dollar. In neighboring South Africa, fuel price increased by more than R1 per litre, but Namibian motorists are shielded by the National Energy Fund. Ghetto Craig shares more.
When I look daddy.
And business proceeds briskly here behind me as Namibian motorists and filling station clients continue blissfully unaware of the impacts of rising international oil prices. We are protected here in Namibia by the National Energy Fund. Ministry of Mines and Energy announced just yesterday that petrol prices, diesel prices will not be increasing tomorrow, Wednesday, the 6th of March, as is the case in South Africa, our neighbor. In Namibia, we are lucky that the National Energy Fund is contributing 124 million to offset increases in the prices of importing the different petrol and diesel products that we use here in Namibia. But in South Africa, the Minister of Resources and Energy announced on Monday that there'd be increases of more than Namibian dollars worth on all kinds of fuel prices here in Namibia. We were also made aware that actually the levy that contributes to the National Energy Fund will be increasing by 50 cents as from tomorrow, but we won't have to feel that impact in our pockets because the fuel prices stay the same, and it will allow the Energy Fund to better protect us, Namibian road users, in the future. Thank you very much.
Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break. Stay with NMH at 1.
We are all seeking connection to each other, to the world, to the spaces we exist in.
Poor sportsmanship right now from the lads.
You might be physically ready, your body is ready, but mentally.
Here's another chance, and it is a goal from Vindo Kahan.
Hy sê wie hy is daar neergetrek en daai bal het my grond gevat. Ja, hy het grond gevat en is
But just enough next.
Shh. Running that mountain up. Okay, so we will be doing this for the mountain climber. More advanced, slightly advanced.
So is jou trolley reg? Want
I love that. I love that. So then
kickstart our countdown at number 5 with this one.
Op Netwerk TV se Klets Kompas gesels ons nuus van 'n Maandag tot Donderdag. Ons kyk ook na die weer en meer. Stories wat jou raak en stories wat saak maak.
They've made a mistake in denying me bail, and they've made several other mistakes in many other cases.
The channels that teach us something new or reflect our expression. So it goes beyond switching to the right station. It's about choosing the experience that can adorn the present, dressing it with our tastes as we expand our preferences, because what we are actually connecting to is boundless, limitless human energy. And this is the spirit of NTV.
Getting into today's visual news clips, Namibia Financial Institution Supervisory Authority CEO Kenneth Matumola says the laws guarding the regulator are not sufficient to ensure it carries out its mandate. This video is courtesy of Okone Tlage.
You are faced with some challenges, and these challenges require some solutions to it. And the challenges that we face in our space, one is archaic legislative frameworks. And when we look at these old legislative framework, stifle innovation, and in some cases they are very difficult to implement because they have been overtaken by events. The other thing that the current laws, given that they are very old, they are more compliance driven, and therefore the world has moved on. Long ago, they have moved to what we call risk-based supervision. And when you look at these old laws, they will require you to tick boxes. But is that sufficient? Not really.
Now let's take a look at the upgrades to one of Windhoek's most used routes.
Finally, it looks like the congestion faced by hundreds of Aarhus Road users in the capital on a daily basis may be coming to an end, with the Roads Authority and the City of Windhoek having appointed Lithium project consultants to conduct the design and construction supervision of this traffic-heavy road. The project involves the upgrade of the Aarhus Road to a dual carriageway from the Sean McBride intersection to the Mandume and Demofayo intersection, where a new taxi rank is envisaged. Furthermore, Envirodynamics has been appointed to conduct the environmental and social impact assessment for this project in line with the Namibian Environment Management Act and its regulations. In the meantime, stakeholders are invited to register to be part of this project, to raise issues and concerns that should be considered during the assessment, and to receive the findings thereof. Registrations can be sent to stephanie@envirod.com.na, adding your name, phone number, email address, and your reason for interest.
After the break, the Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review segment. Stay tuned.
Hi, Kambaripa.
Hi, Melissa.
You look upset. Is everything okay?
A healthcare worker refused to attend to me because I visited the healthcare facility without a guardian.
Healthcare workers are not allowed to do that. This sounds like a job for your shield of survival.
Huh?
Your rights, they're your superpowers. Your shield of survival is your right to life, health, nutrition, shelter, and an adequate standard of living.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. On the Namibian Sun front page, the United People's Movement has been kicked out of parliament by its alliance partner, the Popular Democratic Movement, for allegedly endorsing independent presidential candidate Ali Angula instead of someone from the alliance. Last week, UPM leader Jan van Wyk pledged his party support for Angula, who insists that she has been told to run by God to run as president of Namibia. On page 3, Breaking the Wall of Silence, a group that advocates for justice for ex-SWAPO detainees, has hit back at claims that its members returned from exile bitter and full of vengeance. They were responding to remarks made by Ellen Musialela, a former SWAPO freedom fighter, who last week described First Lady Suski Mbumba as a good person who is not bitter or full of vengeance, like other people who were subjected to interrogations in the so-called Lubango dungeons. Musialela told Namibian Sun she never changed or became bitter about her past. I won't even try to describe what happened there, but many people who went through the same thing came back bitter and full of vengeance. BWS acting chairperson Oiva Angula accused Musialela of attempting to re-enter politics through opportunistic means. According to him, she is trying to curry favor with the new First Family by exploiting the pain of ex-detainees through backdoor methods. On the front page of the Republican, the lower levels of the Chobe River have filled many with concern for dozens of hippos that may once again get stranded in its mud. In August 2019, more than 60 hippos were trapped in the shallow waters of the river between Namibia and Botswana, which was drying out due to the drought. An emergency borehole was successfully drilled to pump water into the area located to the west of Ngoma in the Zambezi region. Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta also expressed grave concern about the situation. He said when visited the area at the end of last year, at some points, the river was so already low that a person could walk right through it. On page 3, SWAPO party insiders and political observers have warned that if the party goes ahead with its plan to skip an extraordinary Congress within the constitutionally prescribed time, it might find itself fighting for its life in court instead of focusing on winning the November elections. Others have warned the party not to legitimize a precedent set in 2015 when Hifikepunye Pohamba resigned as president and Hage Geingob led the party for over 2 years without any extraordinary Congress being held. Repeating the same undemocratic behavior this time would create a new culture in SWAPO where leaders are placed in positions without following constitutional imperatives. These views follow a resolution by the SWAPO Politburo last week to postpone a planned extraordinary Congress to 2025, despite the party constitution stating that in the event of the death of the party president, such as that of Hage Geingob on the 4th of February, an extraordinary Congress must be called within 90 days. Now moving over to the front page of the Allgemeine Zeitung, it leads with the first historic summit for the protection of endangered cheetahs. An international foundation for the big cat species was established and a declaration was adopted. On page 3, Namibians who want to get vaccinated against various diseases will likely return home disappointed because the country is currently experiencing a massive shortage of certain vaccines and medicines. Several private doctors confirmed to Namibia Media Holdings that it has for some time been impossible to procure certain vaccines, and this includes those against hepatitis A and typhoid fever. According to these doctors based in Windhoek, this is attributed to the fact that the majority of vaccines and other medical products are imported from South Africa, where production has decreased due to load shedding. Several large suppliers in Namibia have consequently stopped supplying certain medications. That brings us to the end of the first half of our newspaper review segment. We start off with what's leading on the Namibian newspaper's front page after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Continuing right along with our newspaper review segment, the Namibian newspaper reports that a security officer entrusted with guarding President Geingob allegedly stole a Rolex watch and cologne from the late president while the nation was mourning. A person familiar with this matter told the paper this week that the watch was stolen 2 weeks ago and sold to the son of a former minister. However, it was agreed that the matter would only be dealt with after the funeral. The officer allegedly sold the watch to a prominent political figure's son. When he was interrogated by the police, he initially denied it. Later on, though, he admitted that he had bought the watch from the officer. A source said, "It's unclear exactly when the items were stolen or how much the stolen items were worth, but a source claimed that it was an old watch." On page 3, a senior anti-corruption commission investigator whose appointment as the ACC's chief of investigations and prosecutions was blocked by Prime Minister Sarah Amadilla nearly 4 years ago will be able to hold the position that was denied to him for only a month before his retirement. This is after Judge Aileen Rakol ruled in the Windhoek High Court on Friday that ACC investigator Philip Masule should be allowed to take up the post he was appointed to in July 2020 before Kugungelo Amadilla set aside his appointment. Rakol ordered that a judge delivered by her in April last year, in which she set aside the Prime Minister's decision to cancel Masule's appointment, should be executed while an appeal against the judgment is pending. The New Era's lead story reports that Higher Education Minister Itakanji Mrangi has emphasized the need for higher education institutions to offer priority courses beyond level 3 to reduce artisans to drive green energy development in Namibia. She made the remarks during the inauguration of workshops and handover of equipment to the Zambezi Vocational Training Center in Katima Mulilo on Friday. She said technical and vocational education and training are imperative for Namibia's industrialization and overall development, which heavily relies on the development of a skilled workforce to drive innovation and contribute to economic diversification. On the paper's page 3, Kunene Regional Governor Marius Shea recently went on a fact-finding mission at Ward 9 in Petrusfontein on the outskirts of Fransfontein settlement to assess the water challenges in the area. Shea said the fact-finding mission looked at various challenges the communities are facing in terms of water infrastructure. He added that the water issues that Petrusfontein residents were facing have since been resolved as the government has put up a desalinating plant to make water potable for human consumption. Moving over, the Market Watch reports that Finance Minister Ipumbu Shimi could afford to be more generous in his budget last week due to late President Geingob's vision bearing fruit, says Dr. John Statler, Namibia's first statistician general and former presidential economic advisor. He said the pride he felt stemmed from knowing that Dr. Geingob's vision was bearing fruit and that the finance minister could afford to be more generous due to the accelerated growth that our economy was experiencing. The Namibian House had suffered setbacks and economic hardship, but the vision that the late President Geingob had has led us to our present position. Late President Geingob knew that from the first day on the job in his first term, his focus needed to be on economic survival and long-term economic growth for Namibia. As his economic advisor, I played a small part in bringing his ambitious vision to growth and prosperity to life through the Harambee Prosperity Plan, he said. Now, after the break, we bring you our economic news. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
In economic news this afternoon, Osino Resources Corp says limitations of the Namibian domestic market in securing funding from local institutions were a key factor in seeking external financing for the development of its Twin Hills project. This comes as the gold exploration company is close to finalizing its acquisition by Chinese company Yantai Gold Co. in a $5.3 billion Namibian cash deal. He said this was because of the capital-intensive nature of mine development, with the Twin Hills project's overall capital cost estimated at approximately $495 94 million Canadian dollars, including 46 million Canadian dollars contingency and 24 million Canadian dollars capitalized pre-strip. We'll now take a look at the economic indicators before we get into our African news. The Namibian dollar trades at 24.07 against the British pound, 20.62 against the euro, 19.02 against the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 64 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. First Rand Namibia Limited stocks took a dip of 0.50%, while Letego Holdings and Namibia Breweries Limited stocks took upturns of 2.50 and 0.03% respectively, while the rest maintained. Local index closed in an upturn of 0.12%, while overall index closed in a downturn of 0.05%. All commodities are up save for platinum, which took a dip of 1.07%, now trading at $887.88 per ounce.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent here on NMH at 1. An anti-LGBTQ+ bill passed by Ghana's parliament last week, which could derail international aid for the West African country if it becomes law, according to an internal government memo, has not yet reached the desk of President Nana Akufo-Addo, he said on Monday. In his first comments on the bill's passage, he said Ghana would not backslide on its human rights record and added that the bill had been challenged in the Supreme Court. "I've learned that today a challenge has been mounted at the Supreme Court," Akufo-Addo said in a statement. "In the circumstances, it would be as well for all of us to hold our hands and await the decision of the court before any action is taken," he added. The bill could lead to a loss of $3.8 billion in World Bank financing over the next 5 to 6 years if it becomes law, derailing a $3 billion IMF loan package, the finance ministry said in a document seen by Reuters earlier on Monday. Now, after the break, we bring you international news, and we are starting off in Turkey. Turkish police have detained 7 people, including a private detective, suspected of selling information to Israel's Mossad intelligence service, the state-owned Anadolu news agency said on Tuesday. Anadolu cited security sources as saying the private detective, a former public servant, was suspected of gathering information on Middle Eastern companies and individuals in Turkey, placing tracking devices and engaging in surveillance. The sources said the detentions were part of an operation carried out by Turkey's National Intelligence Agency, MIT, and Istanbul counter-terror police. Ankara made no official statement on the operation. Israel did not immediately comment on the Anadolu report. The Turkish detective was trained by Mossad in the Serbian capital Belgrade and received payments in cryptocurrency that did not appear in official records, the sources said. A Turkish court in January ordered the arrest of 15 people and the deportation of 8 others suspected of having links to Mossad and targeting Palestinians living in Turkey. In February, Turkey detained 7 suspected of selling information to Mossad. Turkish and Israel leaders have traded public bombs since Israel's war with the Palestinian militant group Hamas began last October. Turkey has warned Israel of serious consequences if it tries to hunt down Hamas members living outside the Palestinian territories, including in Turkey. That's it for international news. After the break, we bring you local and international sports news.
Hi, Kambaripa.
Hi, Melissa.
You look upset. Is everything okay?
A healthcare worker refused to attend to me because I visited the healthcare facility without a guardian.
Healthcare workers are not allowed to do that. This sounds like a job for your shield of survival.
Huh?
Your rights, they're your superpowers. Your shield of survival is your right to life, health, nutrition, shelter, and an adequate standard of living.
For more information, contact the Children's Advocate Namibia in the Office of the Ombudsman on 061 20 73 111. Send us an SMS on 20401. SMS costs 40 cents. You can also send us a message via our Facebook page. Remember, the services of the Children's Advocate are free of charge.
In local sports news, the Debmarine Namibia Premiership title race is intensifying as the top two teams are expected to go all in, guns blazing, in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, AC Boxing Promotions announced their first boxing event for the year, which is set to take place on the 13th of April at the Roman Catholic Church Hall near the Windhoek City Centre. An eagerly awaited highlight will be Walter Kautondokwa, known as the Executioner, who returns to boxing after being absent for about 4 years. And closing off our local sports news, nearly 50 top schools and more than 1,000 athletes competed for top honors at the recent prestigious Cura Podium Grand Finale meeting in Gauteng. Alexander Scheepers from Windhoek Gymnasium received the Best Junior Field Athlete Award at the Pilditch Stadium in Pretoria. That's it for local sports news, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with international sports news. Arsenal entered the record books as a 6-0 demolition of Sheffield United on Monday kept the Gunners on Liverpool and Manchester City's tails in the Premier League title race. Aston Villa confirmed a £119.6 million loss in their end-of-year accounts on Monday, despite a season that saw their return to European football after more than a decade. The losses fuel concern around Villa's future transfer strategies amid the need to avoid running afoul of the league's tightened financial rules. And Chile's Joaquin Niemann, coming off his second Live Golf victory of the year last weekend, has received a special invitation to May's PGA Championship, according to multiple reports on Monday. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast right after this.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1. We'll now take a look at the news highlights for those of you that need a quick recap. An anti-LGBTQ bill passed by Ghana's parliament last week, which could derail international aid for the West African country if it becomes law, according to an internal government memo, has not yet reached the desk of President Nana Akufo-Addo. Turkish police have detained 7 people, including a private detective, suspected of selling information to Israel's Mossad intelligence service, the state-owned Anadolu news agency said on Tuesday. And in local sports, the Debmarine Namibia Premiership title race is intensifying as the top 2 teams are expected to go all in, guns blazing, in the next few weeks. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia and beyond. From all of us here in studio, we do wish you a lovely Tuesday ahead.